Hi guys, I'm Jason White and this is Weird Reads, and I was tagged to do this, which is the music genres book tag, fantastic tag by the way, by Dane over at Dane Reads, and I'm finally getting to it. This was created by Cats and Camera, and I have the link down here so you can go check that out yourself. Okay, question number 1, Pop. What already established book gang would you love to join? Honestly, if I were a kid, then I would choose the kids from it because they have such a tight bond. It was something I was horribly lacking in my own childhood. I didn't have very many friends. 2, Punk. A book under 200 pages. Oh man, how do I choose just one? I love novellas, and I thought about this one long and hard, but I'm going to go with Fear Me by Tim Curran. This book is such a creepy book. Tim Curran, when he wants to be creepy, he can be very creepy, and this book is no exception. And it's set in a prison, which is kind of cool. So definitely Fear Me by Tim Curran. Question 3, Pop Punk. Transport a character into another book. And I thought a lot about this, and I think somebody else may have done this, but I couldn't find out who it was. I've watched this tag fairly extensively, honestly. So this might not be my own idea, but I would like to put Harry Potter in it, because you got the two gangs. So Harry Potter would understand, well, not gangs like and colors and all that. I'm talking about like two groups of friends, both tight knit. And I wanted to honestly put myself in Harry Potter's world too. Actually, that might be more magical and more fun. Yeah, I'll stick with it. But just imagine Harry Potter, the character, with those kids. It would be interesting with his wand. He could just like make Pennywise go away. Alright, number 4, Grime, a book that deals with population hierarchy. For example, upper, working, or royal, peasant, etc. I'm going to go with Laird Barron's Occultation, his collection of short stories, Occultation, because, excuse me, hang on here, I'm having a computer malfunction. Alright, Laird tends to write about upper class people, which is interesting considering his own childhood in Alaska. But I think the first story in this collection, The Forest, really stands out with this idea in mind. And that's only if my memory serves. I might be wrong. But I would also check out his book, The Croning, which is also really good. Question number 5, R&B, relationship advice. An established couple who are not compatible, and I didn't answer this one because I don't really care for romances so much, and that really sounds like a romance type question. Question 6, Rap, a long book that you flew through. Swan Song by Robert R. McCammon. It's about 1,000 pages long, and I read it very quickly, and it remains, at least in my mind, as one of my favorites today, though I haven't reread it in a while. I probably should, just to see if it still is. Question number 7, Metal, a misunderstood character who is actually a sweet bean. I went with a character from a book that I'm reading right now. I'm almost done it, actually, and that's Video Night by Adam Caesar. This guy, the character in this I'm thinking of is Tom. He's basically the best friend of our protagonist. You could even say he's one of the protagonists. He puts up a big front, but really inside he's just a big, I wouldn't call him a sweetheart or anything like that, but he tries to pretend that he's not as close to the main character as he is, I mean, I guess we all do that, but I'm going to go with Tom. Question number 8, Melodic Hardcore, a book with beautiful prose. Pretty much anything by Margaret Atwood, but I'm going to go with Onyx and Crake. It's a very strange and very beautiful book that I highly recommend if you haven't read it. You know, I was thinking about this also. Anything by Caitlin R. Kiernan too. She has a really fantastic way with words. Very dark, but still very beautiful. Um, EDM, a colorful event is number 9. Or colorful. Did I say a colorful event? Okay. Number 9, a colorful cover. This book, when I first saw the cover for this, I was taken aback. I was, whew, man. And that is Mayan Blue by Michelle Garza and Melissa Layson. It's funny how I always struggle pronouncing Melissa's last name, Layson. It rhymes with my own first name, and yet I stumble upon it every goddamn time. I don't get it. Oh, but seriously, take a close look at this book. The colors in it, man, it's trippy. I love that book. Okay, number 10, Country, a book that deals with religion. I went with Mystery Walk by Robert R. McCammon. I have not read this book in a very long time, but it used to be one of my favorites, and I know it deals with the evils of religion to some extent. I'm going to leave it at that. You could also go with The Mist by Stephen King, actually. That's very good. Okay. Question number 11, K-pop, J/J-rock, manga or comic? A book originally written in another language, and I went with Hellsing. Written and illustrated by Kota Hirano. I hope I didn't butcher that. Probably did. This is just awesome Japanese manga that they turned into a television series as well. It's a lot of fun. I recommend it. 12. Reggae, a book celebrating different culture or marginalized characters. I went with A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. This is a brutal look into the poor castes of 1975 India. It shows just how terrible and cruel a government can be towards their own people. And this book was just like jaw-dropping. It's a completely different way of living. And yet the characters are just like people who live around here, around me, around you. It just shows us how we're connected, human, in our human animal type way. That probably didn't make a lot of sense, but we'll continue on, shall we? Question 13, or perhaps it's genre 13, death metal. A dark, disturbing, or taboo book. There is hands down no other dark, disturbing, taboo book than The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. This is a book I'll never be able to read again because it has been tattooed on my brain and I just don't want to go back there. It's a terrible, terrible place. Oh, and, it's also written very beautifully. You want to talk about beautiful prose, Jack Ketchum, or Dallas Mayer, which was his real name, he would write about these terrible, terrible things, but his prose was always so beautiful. And rest in peace, Dallas, by the way. I met him once, and he was a fantastic guy. It was in 2006 or 7 at the Fan Expo, and I talked to him a few times that weekend. It's too bad that he passed. Way too young, too. Okay, genre 14, indie, 2 books with similar plots or covers. For me, I'm going with It by Stephen King again, and Cemetery Club by J.G. Faherty. Now, here's the first sentence. I mean, we all know what It is about. It's been adapted into a television series, a movie, and, the book is very popular. But the first sentence from the Cemetery Club blurb is, 20 years ago, 4 friends awoke an ancient evil, and only the Cemetery Club can stop it before the whole town ends up dead, or worse. It's a great book, and if you love It, I suggest you read this one too. Maybe Demon King too. I haven't read that one yet, but I'm hoping to very shortly. 15, Nu Metal. A book that uses more than one element in storytelling. Now, this one kind of confused me by elements. I'm not too sure if that meant like genres. If so, like nu metal is sort of like rap and metal mixed together, right? So if so, I'm gonna go with the Revelation Space series by Alistair Reynolds, as you know, it's a great cross here between space opera, hard science fiction, and horror. 16. Acoustic. Strip back a plot into one sentence. Since I just used Revelation Space, I had a funny idea for this one. And, well, it's not really funny. It just kind of shows you where this book goes, or this series goes. And it's, so, Revelation Space, a space opera in the far future where a virus melds flesh together with metals. Let that one sink in. 17. Emo, a book that made you cry or feel all the feels. And I generally don't cry very often while reading a book, but Horns by Joe Hill certainly got me all teary-eyed, and I tried to hide it. 18. Unsigned, an indie release or unknown book. I'll mention two. One, Driven by Dane and Star Nomad by Lindsay Baroker. I read both these books this year, and I'm pretty sure they're both going to make it into my top 10 at the end of the year, 2018. All right. Dubstep, number 19. Dubstep genre bending, a book that is hard to categorize. And with this one, even though it's definitely weird fiction, I went with Annihilation because there's Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer because there's other elements at play. It's just very much a science fiction story. It's weird fiction. It's kind of horrific. It's a blend of many different things. It's kind of hard to categorize, I'm certain. If this was like Jeff Vandermeer's first book, I don't think being published, I don't think the marketers, the people marketing the book, would know what to classify it as. They would have struggled because Jeff Vandermeer already had a name for himself. They just sort of used that, I believe. I could be wrong about that too. Alright, Can't Be Pigeonholed. Switch the genre of a book and explain. Contemporary into a fantasy, horror into a comedy, etc. So, this is the last one. And I went with Cabin at the End of the World. Cabin? Okay. I went with Cabin at the End of the World in Space. I think you can do this because you just have a family in their spaceship traveling either to or from, or maybe they're just traveling in space on their vacation, as their vacation, when they are boarded by unwelcome end of the universe people who want them to do something terrible for them in order to stop it. Now, of course, the end of the universe scenario would have to involve the old ones, the old gods, and it would be some sort of alien race, and if they don't do what they're told to do, these pissed off gods will destroy the universe. I think that would be funny. It could be actually either funny or it could be very dark and disturbing, and that's what I would like to see. Alright, so that is all 20 genres for this tag. Thanks again to Dane Reeds for tagging me, and to everyone else. I'm not going to tag anyone. I don't know who's done it, who hasn't. I probably should have looked up some names before doing this video, but I kind of forgot. So yeah, if you want it, if you haven't done this tag and you want to, definitely give it a whirl. And until next time, keep being creative, and we will see you in the next bookish video.